It's now time for the Wedcast, brought to you by Film Media Wedding Videography, 3-time Wedding Industry Award regional finalist. Here is your host, James. Welcome back, guys, to the Wedcast, and welcome to episode 5. We are 5 episodes deep now into series 1 of the Wedcast. I hope you're enjoying it. We've had photography, we've had casinos, we've had magic, we've had DJ. But let's talk today about wedding dresses. Now, from my point of view as a videographer, I spend a lot of time shooting wedding dresses, filming them. And obviously I see the dress hanging up, and then I see the dress on the bride. And that's about as much information as I kind of get and see of a wedding dress. Honestly, some wedding dresses, they were absolutely stunning, and some, they just look incredible. They look incredible. So today I want to know all about wedding dresses. I want to know about what goes in to getting a wedding dress chosen. I want to know about what happens about fittings. I want to know about veils. I want to even know about the fish hook and eye tool that's used to, for brides to get in the dress. So with that all said, I have been in touch with a very, very brilliant bridal boutique. I went to the Bottom Drawer Bridal in Kings Lynn. Well, I haven't been there, but when I was at the Wedding Industry Awards in November, I saw the Bottom Drawer Bridal. They were there. They became highly commended in the Wedding Industry Awards. And I thought, right, we need to get this lady, Victoria, on the show. She made an impact at the Wedding Industry Awards. She had a lovely pink suit on. She stood out. She went up to that stage. She got highly commended, and I thought, right, let's get her on the show. So tonight, I bring to you the lovely Victoria Aunt. We're going to be talking to her about everything I've just said. We're going to have Leo back. He's got a question. You never know what you're going to get with Leo, so it could be anything related to bridal shops and dresses. Who knows? But he'll be on a little bit later on. So without further ado, let's go over now and have a quick chat with Victoria and see what she's got to tell us all about getting your wedding dress sorted, appointments, and everything in between. So yeah, enjoy the show, guys. Hi, Victoria. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Absolutely fine. Well, thank you so much for coming on today's show. And basically, it's a learning curve for me today because as a videographer, as I mentioned in the intro, I see a lot of wedding dresses, okay, hanging up or on a bride. So I want to know the process, and you seem to be the person to ask. Obviously, the Bottom Drawer Bridal in Kings Lynn, you guys have literally just smashed it at the Wedding Industry Awards in November. You seem to be the person who's in the know. So I've got lots of questions to ask you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So let's start. Okay, first of all, with the name, the Bottom Drawer Bridal. So obviously, you guys came in. Been here since 2016 in Kings Lynn, or have you always been in Kings Lynn?
No, so yeah, the boutique opened in 2016, so it'll be 7 years in March.
Wow.
And then so before that, I've always worked in hospitality.
It's slightly different. So in hospitality, what were you doing in hospitality before you got into the wedding side of things?
Well, since I left school, really, just running hotels and restaurants.
Okay, so you
all around the country.
You kind of got like some customer experience doing that side of things, and then you went and you decided to open up your own bridal shop.
Mhm.
So what was that like initially? I mean, was that a hard thing to start? I mean, was it just yourself who started the business?
Yeah. So, well, the idea came from me then trying to find my own wedding dress a few years before that. Just that the shopping experience that I had was terrible, really.
Okay.
And at the time, well, I was quite new to Kings Lynn at the time as well, so I didn't really know where to go. But I really struggled to find anywhere that was sort of on my wavelengths. Sort of at one point was considering going to Manchester to try and find a dress. So yeah, it was just one of those. If there's people like me, well, if I can't find a dress, there's going to be people like me that can't find a dress.
So okay, so the dress side of things, one of the guests on the show the other week mentioned the fact that when you start your wedding, your journey through a wedding, especially from a bride's point of view, the important things to get sorted out first, obviously, is the dress. That's like the main thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, then your venue, then your photographer, then you go from there. They're the sort of three big things that people think, right, we need to get this bit done first before we then start planning. Going to, like, obviously crazy videographers like myself, we're way down the list. We're way down the list. But so the dress side of things, so that's brilliant. So you're getting married, you couldn't find a dress. So eventually, obviously, you did find the perfect dress. But do you think, because it was such a challenge for you to find that perfect dress, obviously you had shocking experience, you said, is that why you decided, right, well, actually, I've got my customer experience, let's go into this and let's make life easier for brides? Is that the sort of mentality you went into it with?
Yeah, exactly. It was just, it was exactly that. Just that if I was struggling, then there was going to be girls that were in my sort of age bracket at the time, and with perhaps, with the sense of style that I've got, or just a similar sort of vibe to me. Like, if I was struggling, then there's definitely going to be other people that were as well.
Yeah. So, right, okay. So you're a new customer, right? So you're recently engaged. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking, right. So a bride to be goes in the shop. Right, we're going to find this dress. So we come to King's Lynn. We come to the bottom drawer bridal. What do I expect as a new person who's just recently engaged? This is my first experience ever being in a bridal shop. What do we do? Where do we go from here? Sorry, I'm sounding very naive. Obviously, I've never had to choose a wedding dress for myself. So yeah, just walk me through how it goes.
So, I mean, obviously every boutique is completely different. We all have our different styles. We all have our different ways of doing things. But for me, it's quite important for me to try and get to know you as much as I can before you've come to the boutique.
Okay.
So whether that's chatting in the DMs on Instagram or WhatsApp or dropping voice notes to one another, I will then try and get as much information from you in terms of what you've already planned for the wedding. So if you've booked anybody, like your photographer, florist, hair and makeup, things like that, because knowing then who you've booked gives me a bit of an idea as to what kind of person you are.
Oh, okay.
So then that will then help me sort of think, oh, okay, so you might like this dress or you might like this. And obviously, I do ask what dresses they like and what they don't like, and get their suggestions as well. But then it just helps me, so then I can get an idea of whether or not they feel quite confident, if they want to come in, or if they're going to need me to sort of guide them through it a little bit more, if they just know what they want and they're coming in to me because I've got what they want. It's helpful more to me, really. Plus, I'm a little bit nosy, so I like to know what everybody's got ready for their wedding. So that, when you then come into the boutique, we're not sitting around doing that chat and, wasting time, essentially. We can get straight into the good stuff and get the dresses on and go from there.
So sorry to interrupt. So initially, if a bride initially sees you, so she finds you online, or on Google or anything like that, or on social media, they find you online, okay? They then drop you a message, and then you start a chat, and is that how you go forward, and then arrange a meeting from that point? Obviously, you have that initial talk online. Is that right?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it's just someone will book an appointment from what they've already seen, and then I'll make sure that I've spoken to them before they come in. It's more of a case, I feel like I need to know you before you come into the boutique, because I just then feel like instantly as a bride, you're more relaxed in my company. It is a bit of a weird scenario in that within 10 minutes, I'm asking you to take your clothes off and be in a room with me while I help you in and out of dresses.
Yeah.
So, I want to know that you already feel comfortable when you come in. I don't want you being nervous, and it is a weird experience.
No, I get that. I mean, do you ever get... Yeah. I mean, does your boutique then, do you offer walk-ins, or do you specifically do it this way, where you book an appointment?
It's very rare that I get people walking in, and sort of 9 times out of 10, if people do walk in, they just want to have a quick chat and want to have a look around, and then they'll book an appointment and come back at another time. It's not very often that someone will walk in and want to try a dress on there and then.
Yeah.
But obviously, if I've got the availability and I don't have anyone else booked in for whatever time you've walked in, then yeah, absolutely. If you want to try dresses on, then there's no reason we can't do that.
So okay, so again, this is me being naive, and again, I'm learning from tonight. So when people initially make that inquiry with you and talk to you, do you have like an online guide or a book of styles that you have, or do you have to specifically order different styles in depending on their taste, or do you have a certain type that you normally do have? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So all the dresses that I have in the boutique are listed on the website.
Okay.
So that obviously during those chats, I can then encourage the bride to go and have a look and show me what she's liking, or if anything stands out.
Right.
But like the collection of dresses that I have, it's coming from nearly 7 years now of my experience of, I think I know what the bride that wants to come and buy from me, I feel like I've got a good idea of what they're looking for.
Right.
And it's just then what I've picked from the new collections that come out every year.
So would you say then, obviously you say the new collections every year, but just say, I mean, I find personally myself, you sometimes get inquiries, especially on the videography side, for maybe 2 or 3 years in advance. So obviously styles change, especially like with dresses and what's popular at the moment. Do you get, like, as you said, like your suppliers, do they give you like kind of ideas of what the next couple of years will look like for wedding dresses, or do you go on what's popular that year? How does that work?
So like all the designers are slightly different in how they work. Like some drop 2 collections a year, some only do 1. So, and then when they drop, so you go to London in the March, so that's Bridal Week, and then we go to Harrogate in the September.
Okay.
So that's like the 2 main times or the 2 only times, sorry, that collections are dropped.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like forecasting what trends are going to be, I don't tend to get that a lot from my designers. We sort of focus on the collection that's now coming out. But obviously, like everything's always a year in advance, like with fashion. So the 2023 collections that are now due in into the boutique any day now, that's what I've been seeing in September.
So you already know what's coming, and I think that's really good. So when you mentioned you go to, was it London or was it Harrogate or something? Did you say you went to? So when you go to
both,
them,
yeah.
Are they like So are they like big? I don't know. In my mind, they're like catwalks of people wearing these. Is that right? And you get to pick what you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a huge wedding fair. The best way to describe it is if anyone's ever been to the Norfolk Showground wedding fair.
Yeah.
It's like that, but just all bridal wear.
And this is just for
like
suppliers.
There's prom and bridesmaids and menswear and accessories as well. But yeah, it's just all the clothing side of bridal.
So obviously that's not for the public. That's just for obviously the supplier side of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't get Julie's getting married next year. She can't just rock up and go, well, I fancy that one. That's down that's down to you, poor old Julie. Never leave her alone. So yeah, okay, that's interesting because again, that's something I didn't know. So I mean, as you said, in the next couple of weeks, you said you got the 2023 stuff coming in. Obviously, the wedding season hasn't properly started yet. For myself, it usually kicks off around April, May time. That's when it starts to come in, the weddings. Is that similar for you? I mean, obviously you do get winter weddings this time of year, but I should imagine it's not as many as you get obviously during the summer. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. It is a very seasonal industry, but I think over the last few years it's definitely become more spread out over the years. So whereas before, like, everything was quite concentrated into summer, obviously are now a lot more winter weddings. But throughout the year, obviously the bride's getting married. I've also still got the brides that are coming in to buy dresses. So it's just, it doesn't seem, there's not really a quiet period anymore. It's quite consistent all throughout the year.
So you're open all throughout the year. So over Christmas time, you're
Yeah.
open. Oh, fantastic! That's great. So obviously, if you've got brides and grooms after this season and that they know they're going to get married in 2025, they can come and see you even over Christmas and go, actually, let's have we'll have a chat and see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
So one question I did have for you just then, because obviously you mentioned the big show where you see the dresses. Do you provide in your boutique? Do you provide bridesmaids dresses, or is it specifically the wedding dress side of things?
So I do have bridesmaids dresses.
Okay.
And
again, they can see different styles as well.
Yeah.
Do you normally find it's kind of when a bride comes in, she's with her bridesmaid, or who would you say the most popular person that a bride would bring in with her would be? Would it be a member of family or a bride, or chief bridesmaid?
It's always a bit different.
It's always different. You never get any. You
don't. A lot of people bring mums.
You don't get any grooms come in, I guess.
I've had the odd groom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not very many, but I've had the odd groom.
Okay, that's interesting.
Which, I mean, I'm not against it. I think I am quite traditional, and I think that he shouldn't know, or partners shouldn't know what brides are going to be wearing.
I agree. That's part of the magic.
But I do. So I do kind of get it in that sense of like, if you were going out for the night, you'd ask their opinion for what you're wearing.
Yeah.
And obviously you're not wearing the dress for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do still want their opinion. It is, and some brides do really struggle with the partner not knowing.
I mean, as I just said, I agree. It's part of the magic, and especially from my standpoint as a videographer, it's when I see that groom waiting there at the end of that aisle.
Yeah.
And then that bride walks down with that dress, and it's like that wow factor. And I think I agree. I think that's a really magical moment. So I think, obviously, as kept as a surprise as much as you can, I think that's the way forward. That's just my opinion. But there might be people who listen to this and go, actually, no, I wouldn't mind if my partner saw it. I think it's just all down to opinion. But I think that's more of the traditional, thought of it,
Yeah. I mean, I do encourage brides to keep it as much of a secret as possible. I mean, like in the boutique, I obviously encourage that you don't bring any more than 3 people with you.
Yeah.
For the appointment. I mean, part of that is purely because I don't have a lot of space. It is quite a small boutique.
Okay.
But the main reason of that is that the more people that you invite to your appointment with you, the more opinions you're inviting in.
Yeah.
And not everyone's always going to agree. Like it's one person might love it, the next person might hate it, and I think sometimes the bridal party then they kind of forget that I've got the bride's best interests at heart.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously, I'm not going to sell her a dress that she doesn't look good in.
No.
Because I want you to be able to then send me the video and say, look how amazing she looks, so that I can then share that video.
Well, I think that's a very good point.
I want people to say, oh my God, where did you get your dress from? Not, oh my Lord, who told you that?
Do you feel then, so obviously you're spending time with these brides that are coming in, they're sorting the dress out, and obviously I guess you see them a few times leading up to the big day, even up to the point where they collect. Do you kind of feel like you go on a journey with them?
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's kind of like you get to know them, don't you? And and although I spend, for myself, I do speak to couples leading up to the big day, but obviously on that day it's so special because you're with them, and then you kind of feel like you build a relationship, and that must be what it's like spending time with that bride. With all the nerves. Does this dress look amazing, or how do I look in this? And it must be a journey for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so I don't have an in-house seamstress at the boutique. I have a lady that I can recommend to the brides. Obviously, like, encourage you all to do your research and find someone that's right for you.
Yeah.
But I do then struggle sometimes when they do then go and find someone else, because then I don't get to see them afterwards. And I'm like, oh no, I hope they're okay. And I do then sort of worry about them.
Yeah, no, of course.
It sounds really silly.
No, it doesn't, because I mean, you've spent that time, you've put that time in with them,
Yeah,
and then for them just to disappear and go, actually, I don't know what happens at the end of this story. Yeah, I totally get
yeah.
that.
So
So,
like a lot of brides will then bring the dress to me once the alterations are finished, and I'll steam it and make sure it's all beautiful and ready for them to walk down the aisle. So they'll come and collect it the day before the wedding. If I've that appointment and not seen them the day before, I feel a bit like, oh God, I hope they're okay.
oh no, I can
Like,
imagine.
oh, I hope everything's all right. They're set up okay and they're sleeping all right. And
So I mean,
yeah,
your
it's a bit of a
seamstress,
one.
the seamstress you recommend, are they pretty local to you? If you know, obviously they needed to see a seamstress. Is it someone that obviously you
She is,
recommend?
yeah,
Oh, that's handy as well. So then obviously you can stay in touch and find out what happens on that
yeah.
point.
She does offer appointments in the boutique as well. So
Oh,
if a
bro.
bride doesn't want to, like, wants to use her but still wants to come to the boutique, like, that's still an option. So I do still get to see some of them.
Oh, that's good. So she comes into sometimes comes into the boutique as well, and then you can have a chat with
Yeah,
them. Oh, fantastic! I think that's really nice, and I think that kind of makes it feels more personal. I think
yeah. That's why I just sort of sit and watch, but
you sit and watch, but it's
it's nice to
nice.
just be there. Yeah,
It's nice because you get to see them and you can have a chat with them, and I guess you can have a cup of tea
yeah.
and just see how they're getting on. I think that's lovely. Um, so the boutique side of things, then. So obviously, so in there we've established we have some bridesmaids dresses, we have the wedding dresses. Do you sell things like the shoes? Again, that's a very question I generally don't know. Or do you find brides get their shoes elsewhere and things like the garter?
Yeah. So these are all things that I have had over the years. But then over the years, brides have tended to try them on and go, oh yeah, I love it. It looks great with the dress. And then they'll go and buy it online. So I don't tend to have a huge amount in the boutique. Again, because it's only a small boutique, I'd rather make sure I have more spaces for you all to have dresses to look at. But yeah, I do have a few little bits and pieces that you all, like, the bride can try and get the whole idea of how it's all going to look. But there's so much choice now available online. It's a little bit of a waste isn't the right word, but that's kind of what I mean.
I know what you're saying. One question I have from my own curiosity really is
Mm-hmm.
because obviously I spend a lot of my life seeing brides in dresses, and the main thing that I kind of is the trends change, and the thing is
Mm-hmm.
veils. I mean, let's talk
Yeah.
veils. Do you provide veils in your shop?
Yes.
Right, so veils
So
they're a mystery to me, veils, and I'll explain why in a
okay.
minute. But just talk me through the veils side of things.
Well, so I didn't wear a veil when I got married.
Right.
And I do regret not wearing one.
Okay.
Just think there's not very many opportunities in life to wear one. And me wearing one now when I'm in my jeans and my jumper, it's just not the same. It just doesn't have the same effect.
Not the same impact. What I mean by mystery to me is, I mean, I see a lot of veils. There's obviously the cathedral length ones, which are massively long. You see one of the biggest things with veils, right, is it looks beautiful in the morning. The veil goes in, and then after about an hour, the bride goes, "Nah, this is just hurting my head," and they take it out, which is so annoying because it adds the part of it, and then sometimes you get it where the veil falls out. Obviously, they go in with the hair grips in the back if it's like they've got like a bun on the back of their hair. But the things like you don't see, obviously, back in not the olden times. Jesus Christ, that makes me sound. So back in the day, like having the veil over the face, you don't see that very often. Don't get me wrong, I have encountered that on a couple of occasions as a videographer, but wonder why that trend changed, because it's now more at the back, isn't it, rather than over the face. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think with the amount of veils that I've ever sold, I've probably only ever sold a handful of veils with the blusher that then can come over the face.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure why brides don't like it. Like, personally, I'm not massively keen on it.
What, over the face?
I think it's got to be a certain type of veil so that it sits nice and flat. Like, if it's a gathered comb, and then you have it over the face, it can look a little bit ruffled, like a little bit 80s, dare I say it.
80s.
Um,
And there's nothing wrong with the 80s. I'm telling you that now.
I'm an 80s baby, so yeah, there's nothing
There's
wrong with the
nothing wrong.
80s.
I'm from the 80s as well, so that's fine. We agree on that. I just think it's interesting though how trends change, and even with the style of dresses as well. I mean, over time, you obviously there's lots of different variations of dress. You have some of the shorter ones, you have some of the longer ones.
Yeah.
Um, Talk to me about bustles on long dresses. Can you explain what a bustle is? Again, this is
So
how naive I
basically, a
am.
bustle is I'm not even 100% sure where the word comes from, but it's basically just scooping up the train of the dress sort of inside itself, so that you then got yourself more of a circle skirt, so that you're not then tripping over your train in the evening, so you can bust out your YMCA or whatever.
You don't want to be tripping over your train, definitely
and not have everyone standing on it.
Absolutely. One of the other things about dresses, right? Again, I see this a hell of a lot at weddings, especially in the morning when I'm doing the bridal prep, right? It's the buttons at the back of a wedding dress. It's these women are doing up the back. Realize, they can't do it themselves, so they get, I don't know, mum or auntie or one of the bridesmaids. They've all got these long nails, and like they can't do these buttons up. Hook and eye, is it called hook and eye that they get, and they try and ping it through? It's an absolute nightmare. In my opinion, go zip, guys. Just go zip.
I mean, a lot of the dresses that I have are now a zip.
Okay.
So that is a question that gets brought up in 9.9 appointments out of 10.
Yeah.
When they go, oh, what's the back like? Oh God, it's just a zip. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I have got nails, and I find it easier with my nails to be able to do buttons up, but I think that's because I do it all the time and I'm used to it.
I think it's an art thing to be able to do that. It must be an art to do that, because I've seen it. I mean, I've seen that sort. I've seen the corset tie up at the back again. I've seen all sorts. There's lots of different styles at the back, but like them buttons are so fiddly, and it's just like you're like.
The best thing to have is a crochet hook.
The hook. Yeah.
There
we go, guys. Make sure, right, when you get your dress, do you sell the hooks? You'd make a fortune on them.
I should do, really, shouldn't I? Yeah, I need to set up like a little.
Maybe I should sell them.
Affiliate Amazon or something.
Maybe I should just rock up at weddings and say, right, I've got some of these guys. Right, it'll cost you. Here we go.
If you had one in your bag just as a backup, brides will love you forever.
They will. Maybe I should have that for 2023. So, okay, right. So I'm a bride. I've come in. I've chosen my dress with you. So what do we do from that point? So I guess do you do a deposit, or do you pay up front, or how do you go about the ordering process? So if I'm getting married in, I don't know, next year. So actually, let's say I'm getting married in September 23, right? I've come in and chosen my dress. It's January 23 now. I want it for September. Where do we go? How long does it take to order? Is that long enough to order it?
So again, all designers are completely different. I'm quite lucky in that my designers do have shorter lead times than others. I know there are designers that I think are currently on about 9-month lead times. So if you were going to go for that designer and getting married in September, then you wouldn't be able to have one of their dresses unless it was off the rack, or so you have the sample from the shop.
Okay.
But for me, so generally my lead time is sort of anywhere from 12 to 20 weeks.
Right.
Okay. So it depends. A lot of the time it depends on the dress, and sometimes it does depend on the size. Because some of my designers do carry a small amount of stock as well. So if it's like a super, super quick lead time, then we can still do it. So when you say yes to the dress, I take all your measurements. The dresses are made to order. They're not made to measure. So the dress is made then in whatever size I've ordered for the bride.
I see. Okay.
So again, like it's Bridal is completely different to the high street. So whereas it is the normal sort of size 6, 8, 10, 12, if you're a 10 on the high street, the chances are your wedding dress is going to be sort of a size 12 or 14.
Why do they do that? I wonder.
I don't know. It would make life so much easier if they were all the same.
That's bizarre. I don't know why they don't just make it for the right size. That's just silly. But again, I wonder if that's to do with, because obviously, just quickly, just going off the wedding dress side of things. If you look at America, and obviously look at us. Obviously, for women's clothes
Yeah.
especially, like a size 10 in America is like, I don't know, is it like a 12? I don't know. It's very similar to what you just said, but they kind of
Yeah.
like they changed the sizes. So it's interesting that they've taken that women's clothes side from the dude from England to America, but into wedding dresses.
Yeah.
I wonder why they
So
do
again,
that.
it's just that you get that as well with like US bridal sizes and then UK bridal sizes, so they're very different as well.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So, talking of sizes, then, okay, do you ever get So you've had a bride who's chosen her dress, right, and she's
Mhm.
had it on order for a year, and as it gets nearer to the date, she's, I don't know, for some bizarre reason, she's decided to go on a mega ridiculous diet, and she's lost.
Yeah.
Is that something you can help, like alterations?
Yeah. So depending on how extreme that weight loss is, if it's only 2 or 3 dress sizes, it's doable.
Yeah.
But again, it depends on like where you've lost that weight, the style of the dress. So if it's more of a fitted style, obviously there's going to be a lot more work that needs to be done to then reshape that dress for you. And obviously then the more reshaping that it needs, the more trickier it can get. Like there's lots of factors that can come into it, like if there's lace on the dress or if it's beaded or if it's quite simple. Like it's just, it's quite tricky. Like it can be done, but it is very tricky.
It's not just that. As you said, various parts of the dress. You don't want any part gaping. Like
Exactly,
women's
yeah.
cleavage or anything like that. So it needs to look right. So obviously, again,
Mhm.
if they are planning on a major weight loss, best thing would you recommend just to keep in talks with you to let you know what's happened, to give you as much notice as you can to get that sorted?
Yeah, so my seamstress likes to start alterations about 8 to 10 weeks before the wedding.
8 to 10 weeks.
Kind of for that reason, obviously, if we start too early and then your body does fluctuate, like we could then be taking the dress in and then letting it out again and doing that back and forth.
Yeah.
So obviously we try and leave it as late as we can before the wedding so that we're not then messing around. It's then just, normally you have about 3 fittings. So you first fit in, she'll pin everything where it needs to go. When you can come back in for your second fitting, the dress will have been tacked, so like a really loose stitch to hold everything in place. But she won't have like cut any fabric away or won't have made it permanent. So that then she can just double check and make sure that everything's all right. Then if you have lost a bit more weight, she can tweak it, or if you perhaps gained a little bit, she can again tweak it to make sure that it's 100%. So that then when you come back in for your third fitting, that then should be your final. And hopefully in that scenario, we put the dress on, fits absolutely perfect, you're happy, and then you will either leave the dress with me for steaming or take her home.
And just speaking of taking it home, how soon before the wedding do you recommend a bride pick their dress up?
The day before.
Always the day before. Interesting.
Yeah.
See, now I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have sort of thought you'd have gone, well, maybe a couple of weeks beforehand, so they can, try it on around the house. But why the day before? Just out of interest.
So, I would always say don't try it on at home if you're on your own.
Okay.
Just like if you accidentally spill something or
oh my God,
get it caught on something.
Yeah.
We don't want any accidents before the wedding. For me personally, I would say the day before, because if I would have spent that time steaming the dress for you and making sure it's all perfect, ready for you to walk down the aisle, I then won't put it back in the bag until you come and collect the dress. Because obviously if I've then steamed it all, put it back in the bag, it's going to get squashed.
Yeah, and it also needs time. Just it can hang nicely. Then I suppose, can't it? Obviously, in the bag, as you said, there is a chance it can get squashed. So yeah, that makes sense.
So I would recommend you pick the dress up from me when you're on your way to your venue, so that then the dress is in the bag for the least amount of time possible. So that as soon as you get to your venue or wherever you're getting ready, you can take her straight back out of the bag, hang her up, get all nice and like fluffed and ready. And then she's still in perfect condition, ready for you to walk down the aisle.
That's interesting. I like that, and I think that's really nice. The fact that you want to keep that dress as special as long as you can without obviously getting a crease. Obviously, by putting even by putting it in a car, you're risking it in a way getting a few
Yeah.
creases on. So yeah, that makes absolutely total sense. I have an interesting question for you now. This one is
Hmm.
when you have brides come in to see you, what is your
Yeah.
policy on, if they came in with like the bridesmaid or their mum, what is your policy on them taking photos in your shop of them wearing dress? Is that a big no?
It's something that I definitely would recommend that they don't do.
Why? Why would you recommend they don't do?
Just, well, being girls, and I'm being very general, but I'm just as bad. Take a photo of yourself in an outfit. If you look at that photo long enough, you will start to pick it apart. So, oh, my elbow looks a bit funny, or my ear's sticking out. I don't like this. I don't like that. That is very general, but I think that is something that a lot of girls will just generally tend to do.
Yeah.
But in terms of like when it's in your wedding dress, the dress doesn't fit properly. So chances are you've got loads of pegs down the back of the dress, or perhaps the dress is a little bit too small, so you've got some fabric across your back holding the dress together for you. Chances are you've got no makeup on and your hair's not done. Just purely because that's what I ask as well. I do ask that you try and wear as minimal makeup as possible, just so that, because it's a bit of a nightmare to get out of the dresses.
You don't want that all over your dresses as well.
Yeah. No, it's a nightmare to get out. It's terrible. But so yeah, you've probably not got great hair and makeup. 9 times out of 10, it's mum taking the photo from sitting on a sofa, so the angle is absolutely shocking.
Okay.
And the lighting's not always like, it's going to be quite bright in the boutique, whereas that can then sometimes be a little bit harsh. So it's never going to be a good photo, like no matter how hard you try. Like it's not going to be as good as your actual wedding day photos, like a photo that someone took on their iPhone. So I will always try and say it's better not to have a photo. But if having that photo is going to make you look at it and remember how it made you feel, then by all means take the photo. But if you're going to look back at that photo and pick at it and then end up not liking yourself and not liking the dress, then I would say don't take photos.
You've actually just given me 2 questions to ask you from that point alone. So obviously with the photo side of things, when you said about how they look, that's not what I thought you were going to say, because obviously I said about no photos.
Okay.
I thought you were going to go along the lines of actually it's probably not a good idea to have that on your phone in case your partner sees it and gets a spoiler for the dress. Or
I mean, obviously that's always another reason.
That's absolutely a guy's point of view. That's what I was thinking. Not my hair looks not as good as it would.
Obviously as well, if you've got it like linked up to all your devices and there's like a cloud somewhere, that they might accidentally see it as well. Yeah, definitely not.
That's a dangerous game.
Yeah.
So do you ever get brides then? Okay, so do you ever get brides who literally see the dress and they instantly fall in love with it, or do you have more along the lines of they try one on and they go, well, I like that, and then they try like another 6 on before they go back to that original one? What would you say is the most common thing for a bride to do when they walk in that shop?
It's about 50-50.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I personally tend to find that if the bride either comes in and it's exactly what she said she wanted, like it's all she's ever imagined, we've put it on, she's loved it, we've perhaps maybe put another 2 on just to be sure.
Yeah.
But even after the second one, they're like, no, absolutely, it's the first one, 100%. Or they've ended up walking away with something the complete opposite as to what they thought they wanted. So they've perhaps come in and said, oh, I want lace, I want sparkle, I want sleeves, and then they've left with like a strapless, simple, completely plain gown. It's about 50-50.
Do you think that's do you think obviously they sometimes they come in with an idea of what they want and they go away with something different? Do you think in their mind they build up, like they look at, like, I know this sounds really awful, but like they kind of look at like a Cinderella Disney style mind in their mind of what a princess should look like, in that they vision that, and then actually they go, I'm going to try that on. Actually, that's a beautiful dress, but I don't know whether or not that suits me. And then they go, oh, what's this one over here? Do you think that's how that kind of works in their mind?
I think a lot of brides will just already have a thing in their head of like, that's not going to look good on me, because that's normally where the sort of that game changer, like, oh, I didn't think this isn't what I thought I wanted.
Yeah.
That's where that's come from, where I've put you in something and they've gone, oh, actually, this is really flattering, or, oh, I didn't think I'd like this sort of style, or I didn't think I'd go with no sleeves because I hate my arms, or it's
it's interesting. Yeah, you know.
I think that's why so many of us would always try and encourage brides to be really open-minded, because then when you do come in with like quite a focused idea of what you want, and then that patch doesn't work out, some brides can get really disappointed by that.
Have you ever? Okay, here's an interesting question for you. Obviously, there's a lot of different TV shows about weddings and stuff. You probably know where I'm going to go with this. Do you ever do you ever have a groom come and choose the dress for the bride? Have you ever had that?
So I haven't that show that you mean. No,
Yeah.
I haven't had that scenario.
No, okay.
I have had a groom come in with the bride, and then he has picked out dresses for her to try.
Interesting. Yeah.
But then we've sort of last minute, like, not told him which one she's picked, so he has then seen all of them. But then she's picked one and not told him what it was.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, no, I haven't had a groom come and pick the dress.
The dress. So yeah.
And well, I haven't had him pick the dress and then know what the dress is.
Again, and we said this earlier on the conversation, I like the element of surprise. I think it's nice.
Yeah, me too.
Do you ever get brides who are taking the dress and they're getting married abroad? Is there anything you recommend that they do if that ever happens? I mean, would you recommend ways for them to store it and take it abroad, or is there any specific fabrics or anything like that you'd recommend?
I mean, obviously, if you're going abroad somewhere nice and hot, then I would normally say you're going to want something a little bit lighter. So perhaps like a heavy sort of Mikado silk, perhaps isn't going to be the best fabric. But to be honest, I think you just wear what you want. Just because it's abroad, it doesn't mean that you can't then wear that lovely big ball gown that you wanted to wear. I mean, the only thing I would always say is that you travel with it in your hand luggage as your carry-on, not put it into...
don't throw it in a suitcase.
No, in your suitcase, yeah.
Don't do that.
But then make sure you take it in a wedding dress box.
Oh, you can... Okay, boxes, right, okay.
Yeah, I think some airlines do provide them, actually, if you've bought it as like part of a wedding package holiday thing. But I think some airlines you can get them so that then obviously they are the same measurements as to what your carry-on suitcase can be. But yeah, I'd always say take it in a box rather than in a dress bag.
Would you also just recommend, just obviously we're recommending a box for that, just slightly going off the subject here. Obviously, I've seen when brides sit down for their dinner, and they sometimes they wear a bib. Would you always recommend a bib? Especially if they haven't suit.
If you're that person that will spill something on themselves, then absolutely.
Oh, you don't want. I mean, like, the thing is though, some brides though, like some brides are very protective of their dress, and understandably, because it's a very important thing.
Yeah.
Other brides, you get past the service and you get to the evening. And then for myself and the photographer, we go and take them out, and they're like, I'm like, oh, are you sure you want to go across this field? It's a bit muddy. Like, well, we're married now, so let's do it. Some brides are so relaxed, and they're like, yeah, we'll climb over a barbed wire fence. I've been there as well, trust me. But other brides are like very protective, and I get it. It's from your point of view. I mean, do you think that's a good thing that some brides are relaxed, or do you look at the fact that, well, this is a really important thing and it should be kept as beautiful for as long as possible? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, there's dry cleaners for a reason, isn't there?
You've got dry cleaners,
So, yeah, I mean, the dirtier the dress, the better the wedding.
Ah, interesting. The dirtier the dress, the better the wedding. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen videos of brides tagged on like the day after the wedding where they've reshared them on Instagram and things where they're having an absolute whale of a time. I've seen videos of one of my brides on, I think it was the best man shoulders, having the absolute time of her life, best night ever. She then sent me a photo the next day. The dress was black, up to, I think, about her knees.
Oh my God.
But she had the absolute best day. And I've seen her since. And yeah, she had she'll tell anyone that she had the best day. But yeah, that's what the dry cleaners are for.
You'd hate me on this, right? I did it was earlier last year. I'm 23 now. In 2022, me and a photographer, we took a bride and groom to the beach. This wasn't on their wedding day, so they'd been married a little bit. But she decided to put her dress back on, and we did a shoot where she had her wedding dress on and she laid in the sea and let the sea come over the dress.
Amazing.
It was very, very cool. But I thought to myself, that poor woman or whoever sold her that dress must be literally just shaking in a corner somewhere. But yeah, it's all good fun. And I think you're right. The blacker the dress, the more fun that you have with it. And I think you're only going to wear it once, aren't you?
If you're going to be worrying about your dress all night, then you're not having fun and not enjoying your wedding.
Exactly. I know. I agree on that. Speaking about the night time, then. Okay, so this is questions a bit of an interesting question. Again, I don't know how to really word this. Bigger dresses as well, like you find in the evening of a wedding, and this does sound crude, so I apologise. Going to the toilet in a wedding dress must be a complete challenge. Yeah. I'm not asking you to go into details of how that happens, but there must be something that's been invented that help that process to make it easy. If it's a tool to make the dress easier to lift, I don't know. Does that sort of thing exist?
So I say it all the time, and I will often do a little demonstration, which always looks a bit weird. But the best way to go to the toilet in your wedding dress is to face the wall.
Face the wall, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That you're kind of sat over the toilet seat.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how to word this without being really gross.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Because if you're facing the wall, you're only then having to deal with the front of your dress. You're not having to worry about what's going on behind you and that you can't see it.
You're not worrying about that veil in the toilet bowl either. No, you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can see what you're doing. You can see what's going on.
It's not the nicest of questions I've asked on this show, but it's a question that I feel is important because obviously if you've got a big dress on, that's one of the and the thing is on your wedding day you're drinking, so you're gonna need the toilet more.
Yeah.
So it's one of them things. I had to ask, and I know that sounds really bad and quite rude of me, but it's one of them things.
Girls will understand when you go to the toilet in a jumpsuit. You just have to take it off sometimes, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Moving swiftly on. Okay. So that's my crazy question, but I'm going to now bring in Leo, who is a regular here on the show. He's my son, and.
Aww.
Every week he has he comes to mine and he records a question for a different supplier. So he's got a question for you, Victoria. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to him now. He's going to ask you a question, and I apologise in advance. I don't know what he's asked you, so it could be anything. This is the mind of a 10-year-old. So I'll hand over to him now, and we'll go from there.
What's the most expensive dress you've ever sold?
Hi, Leo. That is a good question. So the most expensive dress I have ever sold, it was a Sassy Holford. So she's a British designer, and she does a lot of dresses for celebrities. So, she actually did a royal wedding dress a few years ago. But she does a lot of dresses for Holly Willoughby and oh god, her name's just gone completely out of my head. But the head judge on Strictly, can't remember her name. But anyway, so yeah, she's done a lot of dresses for celebrities. So the most expensive dress that I have sold is from her, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was £5,500.
Wow!
But it's not a dress that I have in the boutique all the time. That was a very special one-off.
Leo, that's an interesting question, and to be honest with you, right, like even from my point of view, I know wedding dresses are, they vary in price, but like a £5,500 dress, that must have been like made of gold or something.
Yeah, it was a stunning dress. It was beautiful. There's a lot of lace.
A lot of lace, yeah.
A lot of lace on that one, yeah.
But I bet they still needed to use the fish tool at the back to get them. To get hooked in.
Yeah, she would have needed that, definitely. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of buttons as well.
There we go. Right, so that's Amazon £3. Yeah, we go.
I mean, the most expensive I've got in the boutique at the minute is half that.
Okay.
So
okay. So yeah,
that's
that puts into perspective.
that was quite a rare one.
What does a wedding dress normally start at, or is that too much of a general question?
A little bit. It again, like I know I feel like I say it for everything, but it depends on the designer.
Okay.
So I mean, my collection in the boutique starts from around about 1,200.
Okay. I think that's
and
a
then
reasonable
goes up
amount.
to 28.
Oh, okay, that's your normal price range for dresses usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is reason. I think that is around about the sort of price I think brides do expect to look for a dress, because obviously it's that one special dress that they wear for one day. So,
Absolutely.
it's not as if they're nipping down to Primark to pick one up. Do you know what I mean? No offense to Primark, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I mean it's a dress that has been made for you. So in that sense, yeah, it's not the same as Primark. You're not just picking something up off a rail there's like 30 more of them sat there waiting.
Yeah.
It is specifically made for that bride. So that's like, in terms of sustainability, it's probably like the slowest fashion you're going to get, really.
Yeah. But it must be an interesting job. You must meet lots of different brides, and you must just love it. I mean, obviously you've been doing it now since 2016. I think you said 2016. So you must love what you do.
Yeah. So, well, so it'll be 7 years in March.
7 years.
But yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. I've never worked harder.
Yeah.
In all the management jobs that I've had over the years, I've never worked harder than what I do now, but I absolutely love it.
So, where can we find you? I mean, obviously you're in Kings Lynn. So you're in the High Street, Kings Lynn, did you say?
Yeah, so on the High Street, down on, well, by Saturday Marketplace.
Yep.
Yeah, just opposite the church. Little pink shop.
Little pink shop. Okay, yeah, that's nice. Nice little pink shop. That makes you stand out. And website. What's your website address?
So website is thebottomdrawbridal.com.
Yeah. And you're on Facebook and Insta. You said about before.
Yeah, Instagram. So just the Bottom Drawer Bridal. It's the same for everything. So Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, all the same.
I've got to ask you one final thing. How did you come up with the name Bottom Drawer Bridal?
So the bottom drawer, it's something that, well, not many people know about it now, but it's something that my great nan would have been aware of. So if anyone ever gave them anything for their wedding, or if they had a new house, they would say, go and put it in your bottom drawer.
Oh, really? Did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when brides then come and buy their dress from me, they get a little gift box. So then that is their bottom drawer, so that they can keep things in for their wedding.
Ah, makes sense now. That's very clever. I love it. That's really, really good. So you had that initial term there, and that's the point where you went, actually, that's a great idea for the name of my shop. I love it. That's really, really good. Wow. So I tell you what, I have learned a lot today. Mostly how to go to the toilet in a wedding dress. No, I'm serious. But various things like with cost of dress and all sorts of things we've covered today. So honestly, I really, really appreciate you being here with us today. And basically just going through. I mean, I know a fair bit about wedding dresses and stuff, but not to the extent that we've gone into today. So now I know a lot more, which is good. And if we can help if a bride hears this show, they can obviously get an idea of what to expect now, and that's my whole point of doing these shows, to speak to suppliers, because with your wedding day, there's the planning. The planning is immense. I mean, if you think about it, obviously with yourself, and then obviously the venue, and then the photographer, it's an absolute immense thing, and it's one massive special day. But that's the finale. I say, like that wedding day is the finale. It's everything like going to try your dress on, and, and meeting your photographer and all these bits. That's the wedding. It leading up to it as well. But that's just me being like kind of theatrical and dramatic. But I think that is the best way to describe a wedding. And so thank you, Victoria. And
You're welcome.
I'm hoping that you have a fantastic 2023. I'm hoping the world doesn't ever get locked
Me
down
too.
again. And if we do a season 2 next year, I'd love to get you back on, and we'll have another little chat and see how things are going, if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Victoria, for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on here. And honestly, I've got now a real insight as to what it's like from a bride's point of view as to getting a wedding dress leading up to their day. So I really appreciate you telling us all about it. The Bottom Drawer Bridal in Kings Lynn sounds absolutely an amazing place for any bride, any newly engaged couple, for the lady to go and see what dress she wants to buy, and obviously with all your help she'll know what she wants. But yeah, thank you, Victoria, for coming on. So next week, episode 6. Again, I can't tell you every week. I get to this point, I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you who's coming on next week. Well, I do. I don't tell you maybe at this point, but I will tell you who's coming soon. I'm still aiming for, I was actually aiming for 6 or 7 episodes of this series. Obviously we're episode 5 now, but I've now decided to make the Wedcast a 10 episode season. That's the plan at this moment in time. Who knows what's going to happen? I've been in touch with various suppliers. I mean, by the time this goes out, so this is going out February the 8th. I'm recording this today on the 23rd of January. So yes, I do pre-record in advance. So by the time this goes live on the 8th, I might already have 10 recorded. At this moment, this will be my 5th recording, episode 5. So who knows where we'll be on February the 8th. But yes, it's going to be a brilliant show next week. The guest, I can't tell you who it's going to be, but the guest is always special when they come on the Wedcast. I choose people who can give you insight and knowledge into their business and what they do. And if I can just help one person on any of these subjects, if it's photography, if it's DJ, if it's casino, if it's magic, if it's dress, then I'm doing my job. Even if I can't help someone, even if it's another supplier listening, I'm glad you're listening. Yeah. Right, that's enough of me rambling. Next week, I will see you on Wedcast Day, as I always say every week, Wednesday. Take care, guys. Stay safe. Wrap up warm. It is February. It is cold. So yeah, I'll take care and I'll see you all next week.